red and green. I'll show it to you.
Yeah.
And this one controls their computer with your slides.
Okay. Is it just like normal?
It's like green forward and red
Back.
backwards. That's it.
Green,
And that's on it.
red. Okay.
And the big one is the red one, the green one. Sorry.
Okay.
That's it. And then you have a microphone if you need to ask questions during the run everywhere. And,
Okay. Okay.
have to wait for the live stream to start.
Yeah, I was
So we
gonna
go.
say. Okay.
The guy is there.
Okay.
He'll make a move like to me, and
Okay.
I'll say to you.
Okay.
Let's go. Yep. Yeah, that's about it. Yep,
So in a couple of
exactly.
minutes.
I mean, you can
Okay.
already start going.
Should I go up?
Yeah, just like make yourself comfortable.
Yeah, and then look at this one.
Yeah,
See what the situation is.
exactly. Ouais, ça l'accompagne un peu. Exactement.
Okay, so
You can
forward,
go
back.
front and back to see if it works. Go ahead. Okay, it works. No, it works for them, so it's okay.
Oh yeah, okay.
it's all good.
I was like, wait, how do you know that?
Ok, on est comment là? Ah, en arrière. Back, sorry. Okay, it works.
So
Perfect.
much?
Yeah,
Oh,
all good.
excellent.
Now we wait.
Oh, there we go.
Actually, the live stream guy is. Up.
Is he gone?
Yep. Wait. On n'a plus l'ingénieur streaming. Lui, il a dû prendre une pause, quoi, parce que c'est vrai que mentionné.
What? Where is he? I don't know. Does he need to press it? I know, right? You have to give my message out there. This is terrible otherwise. Okay. Okay. Sorry, everyone. We're waiting for the live stream guy to return to his post. We should live stream it. He's back? He's back. Where is he? Yay! Hi! Welcome back. Are you all okay? Did you get a coffee? Awesome. Okay. So, hello, everyone. Bonsoir, Paris. I know that it's been a very long and very fruitful day for everyone. We have had some amazing talks and learned a lot, hopefully, already. So I'm going to chat to you about communities, It's something that I have worked in and on for over 2 years now in the crypto space. And I think we can all agree that community is one of Ethereum's strongest assets. Ethereum is definitely not just about the technology, but it's very much about the culture and the community. And so what I'm hoping as we evolve a lot of the projects, as we evolve a lot of the applications that are being built, that we really do it with communities in mind, and moreover with empowering communities in mind. And so I'm going to chat to you about a few things of maybe how we got here, where we are, and where we're headed to. And then if we have time for some questions, we will do that also. The definition of community in the olden days, or rather before the advent of the internet and all of the different social media and all of the different forums that we use all the time, was very, very much linked to the physical space that certain people inhabited, right? So a group of people that live in a certain region or in a certain space. But we have seen a big, big evolution in how communities have evolved and how they have essentially moved from communities of space to communities of values, or people congregating because they share the same values, they share the same interests, and are able to, again, participate in a community based on that. So this, for me, is very much an evolution between a one-dimensional view of communities to a three-dimensional view of communities. And at the same time, it also focuses on one-dimensional humans that I very much feel that the Web 2 is kind of forcing us to be, to 360-degree humans, to 3D versions of ourselves, because of the fact that we have evolved from the physical location and existing and collaborating and cohabiting because of that, through to community 2.0, which is a body of people or things viewed collectively. This is a new definition by the Oxford English Dictionary, so we know it's true. And then the community 3.0, which is very much what I'm talking about these 360-degree humans, where we aren't just focused on one facet of our personalities or one facet of who we are, what we can do, and rather as multi-dimensional humans who have different kind of skill sets, different interests, different passions, different things that they enjoy doing, and hopefully participating together in or congregating together based on that, and extracting value based on a lot more sides of who we are. So I always like to use this quote by Tim Berners-Lee, because obviously the internet has contributed so much to this evolution from the 1D to the 3D, from the community 1.0 to the community 3.0. And I think right now, and it's very relevant to us in the Ethereum community and when we're talking about blockchain, because it is very much something that has evolved from its original intention, which was very much for it to be a very open and easily accessible tool, to it being hijacked by corporations, and maybe now it is time to get it back and have it work for us, the 360-degree humans who are choosing to participate in communities of values and communities of interest. And so what we are seeing at the same time as the internet enabling us to get to this level is the fact that that human connection in virtual societies has maybe thinned a little bit. So we can access a lot more people and talk to a lot more people, but the element of connection and the element of, let's say, authentic connections has decreased. And we are seeing the more people start working, remotely, the more we're seeing people becoming digital nomads and traveling all the time. All of us here in this community, and we know this because we see it on Twitter, and we talk to people who are very much affected by the fact that they feel isolated from other humans and even from their peers, because all of our conversations tend to, happen behind a screen, and most of them happen in text, right? We just have this very, let's say, devoid of emotion sometimes, exchanges that should potentially be, or could potentially be mitigated by the sense of belonging to a particular community. And so we're seeing this kind of, yes, the physical location was important and there was closeness, but now that we've evolved to 3D, maybe the authenticity and that level of human connection is decreasing. So obviously this is very much an image that we use a lot in a lot of talks. I use this slide in so many talks, but it still applies very, very directly to what we're talking about now, because right now we tend to gravitate around one focal point in all of the social media that we use and in the tools that we use. But ideally, we would want those connections to be much more peer-to-peer and potentially with the value and the the emotion that comes with having those connections in the physical space move to the virtual space. So adding that authenticity and connection into the virtual space. So now these are, because we've been talking about communities, and it's something that I've been building, like I said, for over 2 years. These have been some of the main best practices that I've kind of noticed, or I've kind of looked at. In particular, the fact that all communities must have a higher purpose. They must be purpose-driven, and they must have, let's say, a higher mission than, very, very shallow motives like making money or making a profit, or, communities set up by certain companies to just immediately make some sort of return. And this is where those communities of value become valuable within themselves, is because they are very, very purpose-driven, and usually that purpose is a positive one, a human-focused one, and really looking at how they can improve the lives of the people within the community and for the community. And also another one, I mean, you guys can read all these, but I think the main ones that stand out to me, aside the purpose-driven ones, are find the tools and strategies to support those communities. Never, ever make it about yourself. Like, this is something that a lot of people tend to, and a lot of companies tend to do, is focus on, everybody should follow that particular brand, or everybody should just cluster around that focal point, when in fact, they should focus on what tools and what channels and what avenues they can offer for the individuals and the community that they are part of to achieve the purposes that they want to achieve the goals that they have, to achieve that sense of belonging, to achieve that sense of, or drive that sense of value. And then the other one is empowering your members. And they're kind of a little bit similar, but getting out of the way. What can you do as the enabler of something? You are the means, especially within our space. The technology that we are building isn't the purpose. The purpose is whatever it is that we are enabling. Whatever it is that you are making better compared to what we have today for the people that you are building it for. And that's another big thing. What are you building for? Who are you building for? One of the main things that we see right now is very, very, I guess, formulaic. We have a community, it's in Telegram or in Discord, and then maybe we have a Twitter following, maybe we have some meetups now and again. But what more is there? How could you, again, make sure that the community that you are, or that you are gathering, let's say, gets more benefit out of what you are doing? So that's something that I'm definitely seeing this in some of the hackathon projects, and certainly some of the projects that are, growing and developing, is that this is becoming apparent, which is great to see, because it stops being a very, very, I'm not saying across the board, but it stops being, a one-sided situation, and it starts being a conversation and a dialogue. And this is something that, based on all of those best practices, you kind of notice that there is a hierarchy of needs within communities. And yes, it's a little bit drawn from Maslow's, obviously, but one of the main things that we, again, tend to forget is that the community, the individuals are as important as the community is as important as the individuals. They would not exist one without the other. And being able to listen to both of those audiences, because we've talked about audiences today earlier in our Marketing DAO workshop, is very, very important, because something might work for one and it might not work for the other, and you want that balance between the two. And then what you want to do is you want to innovate through your community, and even higher than that is innovate within the community. And this again comes back to that idea of getting out of the way, making sure that you don't do stuff like, hey everybody, share your ideas and for free, or let's redesign our logo, and then you invite the whole community to do it, but do it for free out of the goodness of your own heart. No. Because that is, again, you being selfish as an organization or as a project and thinking, hey, these guys should be able to do everything because they love me and they think I'm wonderful. Why? Everybody should be able to draw value out of what you are doing. And one of the main things, and this I speak from experience, whenever, let's say with Bounties Network in the past 2 years, and now with Peepo, it's about delivering value if value is delivered for you. Again, that dialogue, again, that win-win situation, that is incredibly, incredibly important, because, again, you want to empower the people who are gathering around you because of your purpose-driven mission, because of your values, because of what you are able to provide for them. So a very simple example that I would give here is, and again, coming back to that 360-degree human piece, is that we have been lulled into this sense that only one small portion of ourselves is worthy of money. That 9-to-5 job, or a certain skill set that is defined in a contract for you, and that is what you get paid for, and that is it. Your interests, your passions, the things that you care about, the fact that maybe you want to save the world but don't have time because, you have to earn a living. All of those facets of ourselves, all of those different angles are valuable and should be treated accordingly. And I think being able to earn value for everything that you contribute to your community and even the broader world should have those mechanisms of the delivery of value redesigned. And that's a really, really important piece here, because that is how you innovate within the community, and that is how you empower that community to get more out of belonging. Empowering people, delivering value, as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the main roles of blockchain and of Ethereum. It enables people and communities to access things like information, resources, potentially a global and diverse range of resources where currently there are none. And that's an important piece, and that's an important part that we play, but we must also understand how do we enable these things? What are we doing? How are we hindering people, right? Because that's another thing. We must make sure that everything that we are doing with this thought of empowering people and delivering value. Now, this is something that Albert Nee mentioned in his keynote talk at ETH London, and it was one of those talks where I literally took photos of every single slide because it was amazing. And then I just said, can you please share the slides, because you're clogging up my camera. But this is the time, the very first time in decades, that so many parts of the computing stack are simultaneously accessible. And we have not been in this situation in a very long time, maybe ever. We must remember that this type of, where we are right now, is incredibly, incredibly rich in what we can use it for. And the idea here is to use it to empower people and deliver value. Because now it is possible, and maybe the education pieces and letting people know and enabling them to access those resources is also incredibly, incredibly powerful. And from here, all of these applications that we're building and the tools that we're building, the idea would be accessibility. So again, you should be able, or your community, or your individuals in that community should be able to access what you are doing and what you are building from anywhere, regardless of their socioeconomical background. And that's tricky right now, because there's regulations, and there's app stores, and there's things like that, which are hindering. But we must keep pushing for that accessibility, because that is what we are building at the end of the day, something that everybody should be able to access, like Tim Berners-Lee intended. Open to everyone, again, anybody should be able to tap into what we are doing, not just developers, or not just really, really wonderfully skilled developers. They are wonderful and we love them dearly, but let's get some more people in. And to get more people in, we must create those roads in. We must have that kind of progression into the ecosystem and what we're doing, again, for everyone. Enabling engagement is another big one. We have a lot of these events, and they're, again, wonderful, and we all see each other, and we meet, and we make connections, and it's great. But for anybody who cannot travel, like most of us can, and or as often as we can, we should be enabling the same level of engagement for people regardless of where they are. Like, we're live streaming this thing right now, but there are so many events that aren't. There are so many events that happen somewhere in a corner or in a venue that just nobody really knows except the people who are there. Let's enable the same type of human-to-human engagement that we get at these events in a virtual setting. And maybe it's virtual hackathons, and then we have, things like mentorship or asking questions of the community in a video format. So you interact face-to-face, let's say, even if you are very, very far away. And then incentivizing action. This is one that I've used a lot, and I think, again, it goes back to this idea that you should reward people for what they're doing. A very simple example of this is, and we were just chatting earlier before I came on stage here, about so many people doing things like cleanups or, trying to sort out climate change for free as volunteers. But what if you added a layer of crypto incentives on top of that, so that more people could get involved, so that you would actually potentially sort out, their ability to earn value and maybe potentially craft new means of income for them? I'm not saying trash cleanup is the solution. I'm just giving that as an example because I have done that, crypto incentivized cleanups, and it works really well. And also, you don't need people's bank accounts. You can, incentivize action to clean up an environment, but also provide an alternative stream of income for that community. So again, an important piece, this incentivization. And as an illustration of that, this is an example that I give a lot since it happened, because I think it's a very, very important illustration of that empowering individuals. And I'll give you an example later about, or just after this, about communities. But essentially, Brandon was a member of the Bounties Network community. So he was doing bounties to earn some money. He is homeless. He lives in Phoenix, Arizona. Doesn't have a bank account because he doesn't have an address. So he is one of the people who we talk about all the time, those unbanked, but it's a reality, and even in the States, and it's quite a bad one. Discover crypto literally whilst looking for alternatives at the library. He was using a library computer and then was using bounties to earn money and cashing out at crypto ATMs in Phoenix. Now, at some point I noticed that he hadn't fulfilled any bounties in a while, so I messaged him and said, look, are you okay? Is everything okay? Are you safe? And he just messaged me saying, a few days later, saying, oh, he had this straggly old computer laptop that somebody had given him, and he had finally died a death. So now he just had to rely exclusively on these computers at the library. So I posted a video on Peepo asking the community who was on the Peepo app, and you would have seen the guys out there. I literally posted a video saying, do I know anybody in Phoenix, Arizona who has a secondhand laptop? There wasn't anybody in Phoenix, Arizona who had a secondhand laptop, but what happened was I posted that video on a Friday, and by Sunday night, I had over $250 worth of Peepo coins that people had sent me in response to that 30-second video, and I had linked Brandon's story in the video. And what I was able to do is turn those tokens right into the app, into an Amazon voucher that I sent him the code for. He bought a laptop, got it delivered to an Amazon pickup point in Phoenix, Arizona. And the library lets him store it at night so it doesn't get lost or stolen. That is a very, very important piece in terms of how you deliver immediate tangible value for a member of your community. And he was a member of the Bounties community because, again, he had found he was searching for alternatives. He wanted to do things, but wasn't a dev, so he did the cleanup stuff. Then he did some art bounties where they were online. And from there started a journey. Now I think he was doing some stuff with Super Rare and so on, now that he has the new laptop. These are those innovating within a community and giving those tools for people to gain value. And connecting people. Again, this is a very important piece, and again, that thing that I was saying, we're all doing this virtual stuff and we're all working remotely, but actually, where is that ability to meet each other beyond just the 2 days that we spend together, beyond the hackathon that we connect at, maybe we share a Telegram, maybe we follow each other on Twitter. How do we continue the conversations and continue the conversations in a way that actually mimics or prolongs that sense of connection? And I think, again, that's an important thing. Empowering the individuals, but also enabling those connections. And so these are the ETH Denver scholars that we had at DEF CON 5 in Osaka. And they are very much people who are at various degrees of their journey into Ethereum. But what if, when we got them to Osaka, we would have said, well, here you are now, go about your business, and then see you later. It's great, thank you so much for attending, but now what? Instead, what we did, and what we will continue doing this year with the Ethereum Foundation and the Scholars Program, is to actually make sure they are connected before they get to the event, make sure there are learning opportunities available whilst they are preparing to attend, again, very much taking into account their levels and their spots in the Ethereum journey, and then making sure that they can collaborate with each other to continue that journey. Some of them got internship at projects in the space. Some of them actually connected and are working on some projects together because they met at DEF CON. But that, again, is because of that enablement of setting them up with some tools, connecting them, and then making sure that they continue that connection and potentially help the cohort this year with their knowledge, with their experiences, and on it goes, so that we can actually create something that, again, everybody draws value out of. And this is a quote. I was looking for a better quote, actually, but this will do. It's actually a really good one, but because I really think that, again, we are, as I said earlier, we're at a very, very interesting time in the development of technology. And with the internet, and again, being at a place where we can have and create all of these very, very important tools to support the communities of 360-degree humans and of 3D humans that we actually want to create and have and maintain the engagement and empowerment that we should deliver for them. They should not just live in a Telegram or a Discord and we only really speak to them when they have an issue. It should be something that they kind of take and run with and create and enable and grow from there. So I think hopefully some of those principles and some of those slides made sense. I would love to continue the conversation after this over the next 2 days, but I think I would love to know your thoughts about what you're doing with your communities. If you have communities, any issues that you have faced, let me know. And yeah, I'm hoping to, I'm absolutely learning as everybody is. And I think the more we share information between each other and the lessons that we learn, we'll be able to create a great experience and get that adoption going. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I don't know, did we have any questions or? Yes.
You made some really good points in the beginning about the basic principles of how to build a community. I took pictures, but you know how it always works. You take pictures and then you still forget the context of what you said around those things. So in the end, you never really end up learning anything. So how can I continue hammering these concepts into my brain after your presentation? Is there like some kind of community for community building or something? I don't know.
A community for community building. There is not, but we should create one, absolutely. So I think I would love for us to continue this conversation, and right now, obviously, an easy thing would be to either connect on Twitter or connect via People, so you can continue asking questions or you can continue essentially having that conversation and hopefully more people join. Because what I'm seeing with that is, and it's a recent thing that I've been noticing, is that actually, and this happened at ETH Denver, where people were sharing some ideas and then other people were adding their takes on it. And then there we go having a conversation, even though we are not physically in the same space. And I think that's a super important one. And I think we definitely don't necessarily have those tools right now. And I would love for us to continue thinking, okay, how can we continue these conversations? Should we have a track on communities at a conference, or should we, explore this more when we go to hackathons, or should we have, the sharings of learnings like at there's a group, I don't know if you're familiar with it, called ETH Magicians, right? They sometimes, we have these conversations and we start having conversations, but then nothing really moves forward. At some point, it stops. Why does it stop? Why don't we continue? There's so many things happening that maybe we just run out of time and get distracted. How do we avoid doing that? And how do we make sure that the really valuable things that we come up with are continued? So I think those are immediate solutions, and I would love to hear ideas from you about how we can continue, making sure that we have that dialogue and that any valuable ideas get actually put into practice or standards or anything. I don't know. Let's figure it out together. Cool. I think it's time for a drink, right? I think so. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much. I will see you out there and over the next few days. Thank you.